Can you stay friends with someone you once loved? Someone you shared not just a bed with, but memories, trust, a life in motion? For many, the answer is an automatic no. Some see it as confusing. Others call it disrespectful. To your new partner, to the closure process, to the unwritten rules of how breakups are supposed to work. But where did those rules come from? Who decided that emotional connection must end when physical intimacy does? And what do those assumptions say more about our fear of ambiguity than they do about the people involved? Because the real question isn't just whether friendship after love is possible, it's whether we're emotionally mature enough to allow for it. Are we capable of seeing someone we once kissed and choosing presence over possession, trust over insecurity, respect over ego? And if we are, what does that actually look like? What are the boundaries, the responsibilities, the inner shifts required to make such a friendship real? Not as a fallback, not as unfinished business, but as something that stands on its own. If you're going to keep someone in your life after the shape of that bond has changed, then what's the least you owe them? Yourself and your new partner, to make it honest. When I started a relationship with a woman I'd known for years, it coincided with a major change in my life. I had just moved into a new home. It was a spacious place with a separate guest unit in the back, and one of the first things I did was set up an outdoor gym. Nothing massive, but big enough for 6 people to train together, comfortably. That gym became my go-to space, a place for energy, connection, movement, and yes, community. Around that same time, one of my former partners and her new boyfriend were renovating their house. They needed a temporary place to stay. So naturally, I offered them the guest unit. It felt good to help. It was practical, generous maybe, but also normal, at least for me. Because unlike what most people seem to believe, I don't consider the end of a romantic relationship to mean the end of the connection itself. Then came that Friday night when my new girlfriend stayed over. She slept in. And when she woke up and came downstairs, she walked into something she clearly didn't expect. I had just come in from a morning workout, sweaty, smiling, fully alive, surrounded by 5 people. My ex, her new partner, and 3 other women I had, at different points in my life, had a committed relationship with. We were laughing, relaxed, making smoothies in the kitchen. It wasn't a scene I had curated or planned. It was just what happened to be real that morning. She stopped in the doorway. Her eyes widened. She didn't say a word. She just turned around and left. Later, I learned how much it had unsettled her. That I had offered the guest house to an ex was already a red flag. That I was still close to others I had once loved. Training with them, inviting them into my home. Blending that world into the one I was building with her. It was too much. It crossed a line she couldn't explain but deeply felt. And I get it. I really do. But before you judge me, or her, I want to ask something deeper. Is this really so strange? Or is it just rare? Is the idea of staying connected to someone you've once loved truly a threat? Or have we simply been conditioned to believe that sexual history erases emotional trust? That love, once changed in form, must also be severed in contact? Because I don't believe that. I believe something else entirely. And if you don't, if your answer is an instant no, then I invite you to stay with me, not to agree, but to consider that maybe, just maybe, we've been taught to fear something that might actually be a sign of emotional maturity. Because here's something I know to be true, at least for me. I don't enter a relationship because of sex. I enter it because of something deeper. A sense of friendship, of resonance, of equality, emotional presence. The feeling that we see each other, meet each other, and move in sync. Yes, there's sexual attraction. I wouldn't deny that. But that's not the starting point. It's a layer that gets added to something already meaningful. And maybe that's why, when a relationship ends, I don't feel like I've lost the entire connection. What falls away is the physical intimacy, the exclusivity, the sexual dynamic. But the friendship, the mutual respect, the shared history, and the emotional depth that brought us together in the first place, that doesn't just evaporate, not unless the whole thing was built on nothing but desire to begin with. Let's be honest. If sex was the only glue holding us together, then when it ends, there's nothing left to salvage. But if we started from friendship and we were honest in it, then why would the end of romance require the death of that connection? Who decided that love, once it changes shape, has to disappear entirely? And yes, I get it. I really do. Waking up in a new relationship and finding your partner in the kitchen with 4 people you used to be intimate with, that's confronting. It shakes something. It triggers insecurity. It tests boundaries you didn't know you had. But maybe the discomfort in that moment says less about me and more about what we've been taught to fear. Because if sexuality is truly something we give exclusively, if it's a gift we offer only when trust and safety are present, then shouldn't it say something that I've given that to you now? That my energy is here? That the past no longer holds that part of me? So what does it really say? That I'm still friends with people I once loved? That I honor connection beyond desire? That I see people as more than bodies I used to touch? And what does it say if that threatens you? Let's sit with that. You know what's interesting? That same girlfriend, the one who walked out that morning without a word, eventually became a steady, loving presence in my life. We shared something real for a good stretch of time. And yes, like many relationships, it came to an end. Not because of drama, not because of failure, just life moving us in different directions. But here's the part that matters. We still talk. We still care. Just yesterday, her current boyfriend came by my place to pick up a set of keys she'd left behind. No tension, no awkwardness. Just a simple, respectful exchange. Because over time, she too came to see what I've always believed, that the end of a romantic relationship doesn't have to mean the end of a meaningful connection. Of course, that raises the real question. How? How do you stay friends with someone you once shared so much with? For me, it starts long before the breakup. I don't enter a relationship unless there's a deeper foundation. Something grounded in friendship, equality, and emotional resonance. Not because I'm idealistic, but because I've seen what happens when that's missing. Relationships that rely only on chemistry tend to burn fast and fall hard. But when you build on something real, you create a bond that can outlive the form it once took. So what happens when that form has to change? When the romantic part ends, I believe it starts with ending things from a place of care. Even when it's painful. Even when it's one-sided. You don't have to pretend everything's fine, but you also don't have to destroy what was beautiful. You can let go without shutting the door. You can grieve and still honor the connection. And just like any deep friendship, sometimes that means space, breathing room, time to feel, to settle, to recalibrate, especially if the decision wasn't mutual. The one who didn't see it coming may need to fall apart a little, and that's okay. We all know that pain fades. We've all survived it, and if the friendship was real, it doesn't need to be forced back. It finds its way naturally when both people are ready. That's the difference between relationships built on possession and those built on presence. When the goal was never to own the other person, only to know them, then even an ending becomes a continuation of something honest. What no one really teaches us, but what we all eventually learn if we pay attention, is that staying friends after a breakup isn't about staying close. It's about staying clear. It's not about pretending nothing changed. It's about acknowledging exactly what did and still choosing respect over resentment. It means you stop relating through roles, boyfriend, ex, partner, threat, and start relating human to human with all the grace and mess that comes with it. You let go of the story you thought you'd live and start honoring the one you actually shared. That's not weakness, that's emotional adulthood. And if you can do that, not perfectly, but honestly, you don't just stay friends, you evolve into something even more rare. Two people who loved, let go, and still care, without needing anything in return. And if that's not sacred, I don't know what is.